Hello, fifth grade. I'm holding the tiny corner. We are going to go over the directions for your Colonial Slides project. So, what you are going to do is you're going to make a billboard for a colony in each of the colonial regions, right? So, there were 3 regions. We had New England, Middle, and Southern. You're going to pick a colony from each of those regions. Now, you have your chart, so you can choose one of the colonies that we covered here, right? You can pick one of these colonies, or you could pick one of the other colonies that isn't listed. Like for New England, we did Massachusetts and Rhode Island, but you very easily can choose Connecticut or New Hampshire. If you wanted to do the middle colonies, we did Pennsylvania and New York, but you can do New Jersey or Delaware. For the southern colonies, we did Georgia and Maryland, but you can do one of the Carolinas or Virginia. So you're going to pick a colony for each region. I'm actually going to go over the slides first, and then I'm going to give you the actual details of what you're going to do. So you have your slides comparing the colonies, put your name. You can change the theme, the backgrounds, the fonts, just be consistent. So the New England colonies. What were the New England colonies? Look at your map. Put a picture, find a picture of the New England colonies, and then name the colonies, right? So the New England colonies were Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Connecticut, little part. Yeah. So those were your New England colonies. So you put an image, list the colonies. Pick one of those colonies, and you're going to make a billboard encouraging someone from Europe, preferably England, but we know other people came from other parts of Europe, to come to that colony. What is the incentives for them to come to that colony, right? Think of like the tourism industry, right? They're wanting people to come. They want the people there. People can have a new life. So you're going to pick a few images to symbolize the way of life in the colony with an image and a persuading sentence about it. Persuasion, right? You've written an essay. You're writing an essay on persuasion, right? You want people to come here or to come to that colony. Then you need to give them a reason to come, right? They can have a job. They can make money. They can have an industry to be a part of. You're going to list options and industries with a descriptive sentence for each one of why they can make a new life there. An example of what did this look like? All right. Make your dreams come true in the fertile soils of Virginia, right? That is a slogan. It's catchy. It's encouraging people to come there. What can they do there? They can vote. They can be a part of government, or they can plant cash crops and grow tobacco. There are other job opportunities, right? They could be tailors and shoemakers, bricklayers. Those are industries of Virginia. That is an example of a very simple version of making a billboard, right? But it needs to include those pieces with descriptive sentences. You can even put an actual sentence for each industry, right? Become an apprentice for a cobbler. Cobbler is a shoemaker, if you didn't know that, or a tailor, bricklayer. Most of the industries or practices or artisan trades were apprentices, which we've read about. So that is an example of what it could look like in a basic sense, right? You can jazz it up a little bit with your slides savviness. And then you're going to do the same thing for the middle and the southern, right? This is kind of like the title page for the middle colonies. Put an image of the middle colonies, list the middle colonies, refer to your map. You have New York, New Jersey, Delaware, Pennsylvania. Then we have, pick one of those, right? Maybe you're going to pick New Jersey. What's great about building a life in the colony of New Jersey? Again, you're going to refer to the sample, put a slogan, a catchy, persuasive sentence to encourage people to come to that colony. Ways of life, what does the colony have to offer? And how can they make a job? What's the economy? right? The industries, how can they make a job? How can they be a part of the economy in that colony? Then you have the southern colony, right? Again, put a map of the southern colonies, plural, list the southern colonies. You have Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Pick one of those. North Carolina. What does North Carolina have to offer? Come up with a slogan. What does the colony have to offer in terms of way of life? And what are the industries? Now, Miss Armenia, where do we get all this information from? I don't know what to write about. Well, one, you have all the information right here. You have all the information in your reading. Now, we ended our reading here talking about the southern colonies, right, in our reading. I didn't really do the lesson summary, but I talked about growth and how it grew. If you scroll further down, starting on page 21 of the reading, it's the careers in the colony. There are little synopses for each region of the colony that gives a way of life of a job, right? So in this section, the New England colonies, they talk about Sam. It's always Sam. Sam. And the way of life that him and his family can have. So you can pick this type of scenario and make a Billboard presentation for that region. The middle colonies, right, was big on farming. And this person is Caleb. Oh, Caleb. We had Caleb in 5th grade. So Caleb is like his scenario, right? So you can use the information from this read and do section to help you with completing parts of the Billboard. This one focuses more on the apprentices of the cities away from the rural life of the farms. And they also have the same for the southern colony. And it's Thomas. Oh, Thomas. And Thomas wanting to work in the rice plantations, right? But this Billboard is not for people currently living in the colony. It's for people who want to come to the colony. A lot of Billboards, colonial advertisements were really simple. The printing press was somewhat of a new invention. So printing the newspapers and the readings were simple images. So that's why when we're saying we're doing the Billboard, we're not doing some tons of graphics and pictures, right? Definitely, yes, jazz it up. But just keep in mind also, we're doing a colonial advertisement. There was always more writing than pictures. So writing does matter. And as we said, the images were really simple. A lot of script, big titles with other information. So these are just examples of what colonial advertisements look like. Granted, the colonial period was a couple hundred years. So there's some evolution in the basicness to the more complex readings of what was the newspaper like. But that gives you an idea of what colonial advertisements look like. Now, slogans. On the assignment, you need to include the slogan for the name of your region, right? It's catchy, it's a big heading. And you need to include the benefits for living in that region. And there is a link here for tourism catchy slogans. Some of these work, some of them may not. So you just can't pick the first one. Definitely read through and see how it pertains to your colony. New Jersey, beautiful one day, perfect the next. I mean, something along those lines is a slogan to Georgia. That's actually a literal Georgia on my mind is the song, and it's the state song for Georgia. But it works, right? So these are tourism, but you could definitely change it very easily. So live free and pray in Maryland, right? If you wanted to be a practicing Catholic. So obviously just kind of, you could scroll through. There's a very, very long list, right? Some of these, like the natural state, these are like actual slogans for states. So this is the natural state is the state slogan for Arkansas. So some of these are still for actual states, but it can help to encourage you for what do you mean when you have to have a slogan for the colony. Another thing to look at, just want to show you some other what advertisements look now for tourism. There's always images that are catchy with a phrase, and these are current for current places right now. But you get the idea of trying to see. That's kind of cool. With love from Plymouth. Obviously, we're not doing something that small, but there are another day on the dusty plains, Nebraska. Obviously, Nebraska isn't a colony, but another day on the fertile plains of South Carolina. So that is an example of slogans for how to come up with a slogan. It seems to always be the more difficult part for the colony. And then next, you're going to come up with your way of life and your industries. All right, so real quick, let's just go over the directions. So I went over each slide. So when you're doing your presentation, just make sure you delete the directions as you go. Posted is the example. There is also a reading for the 13 colonies. So if you choose to do a colony that we didn't go over, like New Hampshire, for example, there's a reading about industries. It focuses more about how the colonists use the land, but there is a little bit of information there on the industries and the ways of life that they had there. Like Rhode Island became shipbuilding. Oh, we knew that. Rhode Island was on our chart. Connecticut. They had fur trappers. Fur trading was a big one. Shipbuilding, houses. So there's another information there. Your teacher can also give you links if you want to use a different colony that's not listed from the text. But remember, between the reading in our book, as well as and that starts with right here, the read and do, choosing to career in the colonies, as well as what we covered in the chapter and this additional reading that's posted. There's more than enough information for you to get the information you need for your slogans and your images for your slides. All right, and if you have any other questions, let your teacher know. And you'll have a few days to work on this. I'm giving students 3 days, so pretty much you could work on one of the slides each day for the colonies. And then our next chapter, when we move on, is going to be on tension. So what happens after the 100 years of the colonies building up their populations and booming to how do they start to have issues with Britain. All right, 5th grade, enjoy, and please send any questions you have to myself or your teachers. Have a great day and have fun.